Probably say something polite, like, only if you want us, but
Something is about to go terribly wrong. And this time, no one is safe. Not Jamie, not Claire, not even the people we thought were protected. Episode 7 doesn't just raise the stakes. It completely shatters the illusion that things were under control. And the worst part? The danger isn't coming from far away. It's already here. In Outlander Season 8 Episode 7. The tension that has been building slowly finally begins to crack open. And it all starts with Jamie. That uneasy feeling we saw at the end of the previous episode? It wasn't just instinct. It was a warning. Jamie is not the kind of man who gets scared easily, but when he wakes up in the middle of the night and says something is wrong, you can feel it. This is different. This is serious. What makes this moment so powerful is not just the fear, but the silence around it. There is no clear enemy, no visible threat, yet everything feels unstable. Jamie has already made a bold decision by giving power to the women instead of the men who betrayed him. On paper, it looked like a smart and fair move. But now we begin to see the consequences. Power shifts like that don't come without backlash. And even if the women choose peace, it doesn't mean the men will accept it. Claire, as always, sees things from a deeper perspective. She understands that danger is not always loud. Sometimes it grows quietly behind closed doors, in the minds of people who feel humiliated or powerless. And right now, there are too many people on the ridge who have reasons to feel exactly that. Claire tries to ground Jamie, but even she cannot ignore the tension in the air. There is a sense that something is about to break, and when it does, it won't be small. At the same time, we cannot ignore the emotional weight Jamie is carrying. He is trying to be a leader, a protector, and a husband all at once. But those roles are starting to clash. His decision may have been just, but it also created uncertainty. And now he has to live with that uncertainty, knowing that one wrong move could cost lives. What makes this even more intense is that Jamie doesn't have full control anymore. He has shifted that control to others, hoping they will make the right choices. But hope is not a guarantee. And that's where the real tension of this episode begins. It's not about what has already happened. It's about what might happen next. The kind of danger that doesn't announce itself, but slowly surrounds you until there is no way out. Meanwhile, small details start to feel much bigger than they should. A look, a hesitation, a quiet conversation. Everything feels loaded with meaning. The ridge no longer feels like a safe home. It feels like a place where something is waiting to explode. And the most unsettling part? Jamie knows it, but he doesn't know where it will come from. This episode takes its time to build that pressure, and it does it in a way that feels very real. There are no rushed moments here. Every emotion, every decision, every silence adds to the weight of what's coming. You can feel that we are standing right before a major turning point, not just for Jamie and Claire, but for everyone connected to them. Because when tension reaches this level, it never fades quietly. It breaks. While the tension on the ridge continues to build, the situation surrounding Fergus and Marsali quietly moves towards something far more dangerous and far more heartbreaking. What once felt like a side conflict is now becoming one of the most serious threats in Outlander Season 8. Fergus has always been a thinker, someone who believes in ideas and expression. But in times like these, ideas can be just as dangerous as weapons. The print shop, which once stood as a symbol of voice and truth, is now turning into a target. And the worst part is, the attacks are no longer subtle. They are growing bolder, more direct, and far more personal. Marsali feels it before anyone says it out loud. That constant fear, the kind that sits in your chest and refuses to leave. She knows they are being watched. She knows that people are angry. And she also knows that when anger builds in a divided community, it doesn't just disappear. It looks for somewhere to land. What makes this storyline so intense is that Fergus and Marsali are not fighters in the traditional sense. They are not standing on a battlefield with swords. They are trying to live, to build something, to raise their child in the middle of chaos. And that makes them vulnerable in a completely different way. The real fear begins when that vulnerability turns into exposure. There are signs, small at first, but impossible to ignore. The hostility, the tension in conversations, the way people look at them. It's no longer just disagreement. It feels like judgment, and possibly even blame. Fergus may have believed that spreading ideas could inspire change, but now it's clear that it's also provoking something much darker. And then comes the moment that shifts everything. The fire. It's not just an accident. It doesn't feel random. It feels targeted, intentional, and deeply personal. And in that moment, everything slows down. Not because the danger disappears, but because the reality of it finally hits. Fire in a world like this is not just destruction. It's loss. It's something you don't recover from easily. But what makes this even more terrifying is not the fire itself. It's the question of who is inside. Marsali's reaction says everything. That kind of fear, that kind of panic, it doesn't come from losing a building. It comes from the possibility of losing someone you love. And when a child is involved, the emotional weight becomes almost unbearable. Henri Christian is not just part of their life, he is their world. If he is truly caught in that fire, then this isn't just a tragic moment. It becomes a defining one. For Fergus, this could break something inside him permanently. A man who already carries emotional scars may not be able to handle a loss like this. And Marsali, strong as she is, can only endure so much before that strength turns into something else, grief, anger, or even guilt. And that's what makes this storyline so powerful. It's not just about danger, it's about consequences. Real, painful consequences that don't disappear in the next episode. At the same time, this event connects back to the larger tension we're seeing everywhere else. This is not an isolated incident. It's part of a bigger pattern, a sign that things are falling apart faster than anyone expected. Because when conflict reaches the point where innocent lives are at risk, there's no going back to normal. And if this fire turns out to be exactly what it looks like, then episode May 7th deliver the most devastating moment of the entire season so far. Just when it feels like the episode has already pushed its limits, the story takes another sharp turn, this time through William. And honestly, his situation might be the most complicated of all in Outlander Season 8 Episode 7. William has always been caught between identities, between loyalties, and between emotions he doesn't fully understand. But here, everything starts collapsing at once. What seemed like a hopeful connection with Amaranthus quickly turns into something much darker, filled with secrets, betrayal, and consequences he never saw coming. At first, it looked simple. Two people finding comfort in each other during chaos. But now we know it was never that simple. The truth about Amaranthus changes everything. If she was the one who influenced Benjamin's actions, then her intentions are no longer unclear. They are dangerous. And suddenly, William is no longer just involved emotionally. He is trapped in something much bigger. The moment Benjamin finds out is where everything explodes. There is no calm reaction, no attempt to understand. This is pure anger mixed with betrayal. From his perspective, everything has been taken from him, his trust, his position, and now possibly even his wife. And in a world like this, those emotions don't stay contained. They turn into action. William's arrest is not just shocking, it's humiliating. A man who has always tried to do what is right now finds himself treated like a criminal. And what makes it worse is that, deep down, he knows he walked into this situation blindly. He trusted the wrong person, and now he is paying the price. But this is where things get even more intense. Denzel steps in with a plan, and it's not a small one. Faking death is not just risky, it's final. Once you take that step, there is no easy way back. It means leaving everything behind, including your name, your identity, and any chance of clearing things the right way. For William, this decision is more than survival. It's a turning point. Because once he disappears, he is no longer the same person. He becomes someone who is running, hiding, and possibly even changing in ways we haven't seen before. And that raises a very important question. What kind of man will he become after this? At the same time, the emotional side of this storyline is just as strong. William's disappointment in Amaranthus is not just about betrayal. It's about realization. That moment where everything finally makes sense and not in a good way. The anger, the frustration, the sense of being used, it all comes crashing down at once. And Amaranthus herself is not a simple character anymore. Her reaction, her rage, it suggests that she is not done yet. Whatever her true motives are, they are still in motion. And that means this conflict is far from over. What makes this part of the episode so gripping is that it doesn't give easy answers. There is no clear hero or villain here. Just people making choices, dealing with consequences, and trying to survive in a world that keeps getting more dangerous. By the end of episode 7, one thing becomes very clear. Everything is shifting. Jamie feels the threat closing in. Fergus and Marsali are facing possible tragedy. And William is stepping into a completely new and uncertain path. These are not small developments. These are turning points. And once these kinds of changes begin, they don't stop. They only get worse. And that's exactly why episode 7 feels so different from everything we've seen so far in Outlander Season 8. This isn't just another chapter in the story. This is the moment where everything starts to fall apart at the same time. What makes this episode truly shocking is not just one big twist, but the way multiple storylines are heading toward collapse together. Jamie is standing on the edge of a threat he can't fully see. He has made a decision that changed the balance of power, and now he has to live with the consequences of that choice. The fear he feels is real, and for the first time, it feels like even he might not be able to control what's coming next. At the same time, Fergus and Marsali's situation hits on a completely emotional level. If the fire turns out to be as devastating as it looks, then this is not something they can simply move on from. This is the kind of moment that changes people forever. It breaks stability, destroys comfort, and replaces it with grief and anger. And once that happens, it doesn't just affect them, it spreads into everything around them. Then there's William, a character who is now being pushed into a completely new direction. His journey is no longer about finding where he belongs. It's about surviving the consequences of trust, love, and betrayal. Faking his death might save him for now, but it also forces him into a life where nothing is certain anymore. And when he finally faces the truth about Amaranthus, that confrontation could be even more explosive than anything we've seen so far. What ties all of this together is one simple idea. Control is slipping away from everyone. No one is fully in charge anymore. Not Jamie, not Claire, not anyone. And when that happens, the story becomes unpredictable. That's what makes this episode so powerful. It doesn't rely on just action or drama. It builds a feeling that something bigger is coming, something that will impact every single character. And the most intense part? We're still not at the peak yet. This episode feels like the beginning of a storm, not the end of it. The kind of storm that doesn't just pass through, but leaves lasting damage behind. Every decision made here, every loss, every reaction, it's all going to matter in the episodes ahead. So now the real question is, who will survive what's coming next, and who won't? Because if episode 7 has proven anything, it's this. No one is truly safe anymore.